Hey, what's the matter, Steven?
So I got this comic that I want to review, but I really don't think I can even say the title.
Well, why can't you say the title? Are you reading porn comics?
No, not... Jeez, no! I've been, I really, don't like to use profanity. And I'm just worried that this might be something that my mom watches, and I don't want her to catch me swearing.
What could you possibly say that your mom wouldn't approve of? Hellboy? Hellboy?
No, my mom might hear this! Comics fans have long known the name of Mike Mignola, even if they don't actually know how to pronounce it. Mignola was already a name to watch in the 90s, before he went off and created one of the most prominent and influential independent comics characters of all time, Hellboy. Mignola has been producing Hellboy comics for over 20 years now, sometimes working with collaborating artists and writers, and sometimes doing most of the heavy lifting himself. The tale of Hellboy is the tale of a literal son of the devil, whose doom it is to usher in the end of the world. But really, he'd rather just sit around and eat a big old stack of pancakes. Oh, yeah, and he punches monsters a lot. I mean, a lot. A good Dane Boy story has a lot of these elements. Larger-than-life, mythological dangers, a fantastical setting with a spooky atmosphere, and a protagonist who just can't seem to be worked up about all of the goings-on around him. Mignola has a knack for retelling classic myths, folktales, and legends with a freshness that's really quite difficult to pull off. He makes old stories feel new again, and he adds just a hint of humor, which, like salt, makes a stale dish taste fresh and interesting. Mignola cuts his stories with panels depicting architecture and other sights from the settings that surround his characters. These panels do nothing to further the story, but the creepy visuals add a great deal to the tension of a scene. It's a trick which I believe originated with Japanese comics, but it's employed to great effect here. Mignola is an industry legend for a reason. His art is big and blocky, full of thick, black, ominous shadows, and his character designs are far from the stylized romanticism you usually see in superhero comics. And that's a good thing. The human characters that appear in Frickboy aren't the hulking he-men and women of Marvel and DC. They're ordinary people, thrust into extraordinary situations beyond their ability to comprehend or combat. So it's a good thing that they've got good old Gosh Boy on their side. But how long can he really be counted on to fight for us? I've given a lot of praise to Mike Mignola himself, but you may remember that a couple paragraphs ago I said that he sometimes works with collaborating artists. Now sometimes these writers and artists work out, and sometimes... well, it's a problem, really. Personally, I've attached so much relevance to Mignola's artwork that seeing anybody else pick up the ink brush feels nearly sacrilegious. I'm sorry, Richard Corbin, I think your art is great, but to me it's just not Darn Boy without Mignola on the pens. The writing suffers a bit too. By the end of Volume 12, Mignola's running on autopilot, and, well, autopilot Mignola is still worth reading as much as anything else, but it loses a lot of the freshness you find in the early volumes. The series finale honestly feels a little anticlimactic after everything that gets built up. The real payoff comes in some of the spin-off material, and frankly, that's kind of a jip. Finally, there's the love story. Ugh. I'm not even a little interested in seeing whether Boy Howdy Boy can ever find love with a mortal woman. I just want to see him punch monsters and get drunk with skeletons. Ah, there we go. So what is it that I really think about Heck Boy, Gosh Boy, Darn Boy, Stew Boy, Wild Boy, Freak Boy, Old Boy, Jeez Boy, Ow! Mike Mignola's Hellboy really is an excellent example of the craft of comics, and I award it 6 circles of hell out of 9. I'd rank it higher, but as I implied earlier, a lot of the best stuff the Hellboy universe has to offer actually occurs in the spin-off material. That said, the Hellboy series itself is still a wonderful place to spend your time, and you should be able to find a few volumes at your local library, comic book shop, or even Barnes & Noble. My personal favorite stories can be found in Volume 3, The Chained Coffin. This volume contains the short story The Corpse, considered by some, myself included, to be the quintessential Hellboy story. I'm also fond of A Christmas Underground, where an old woman mistakes Hellboy for Santa Claus. It's pretty great. Hellboy is a stellar entry in the genre of nigh-invulnerable hero who punches out magically empowered Nazis. A genre that's actually a lot wider than you'd think. Seriously, if you're a fan of Indiana Jones, check these stories out. You might be surprised. Well, that's all we got this week. Tune in next week for another stellar review from Reviews vs. the World, where we put the ooh in review.
No!
What? I thought that was a good catchphrase.
We're Reviews versus the World!